Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Remember to like, share, comment and subscribe. So for today's video, I'll be reviewing the general election results in Jamaica. Alright, so apparently after the general elections in Jamaica, almost the entire country has gone green, right? Some places that the Jamaica Labour Party has won, they have not won those areas in years. I mean like 30, 40 years or ever, right? But they ended up winning those seats. For example, the Jamaica Labour Party won all 3 seats in Westmoreland, right? They won Central Kingston, and I think Central Kingston was Michael Manley's old seat. And you know, Michael Manley was the leader of the People's National Party in the 70s and also late 1980s, 1989, 90, thereabout, before he retired, right? Those places up in Manchester, I mean, the PNP lost those seats. Peter Bunting lost. Hello, before we go into the big losses, I mean, the JLP won 49 seats and the PNP won 14. First of all, let me tell you something. I mean, persons were saying that this election was going to be a landslide for the Jamaica Labour Party. But many persons, including myself, we didn't believe that it was possible for the JLP to win a landslide because the People's National Party had so many safe seats. I mean, seats that they could tick off even before the elections that they were going to win this. Michael Stewart in Manchester, right? We could tick off that he was going to win. Central Manchester, we could tick off that Peter Bunting was going to win that. Central Kingston, we could tick off that Imani Duncan Price was going to win that. All 3 seats in Westmoreland, I mean Central Westmoreland. We could tick off those seats that the PNP was going to win it. Western Hanover, we could tick off that the PNP was going to win that. I mean, down in St. Elizabeth, Basway losing. I mean, that was a PNP bastion. You know, that the last, yo, the results was mind-blowing. Can I tell you, yo, the results ain't no normal. When you look at the picture of Jamaica, here's a picture of Jamaica. You see mostly green, right? And a little bit of orange. So somebody said on Twitter that it's a big dish of callaloo and a little bit of carrot, just a little bit of carrot in your callaloo. When I saw the results, trust me, I was mind blown. I knew that there was a number of battleground seats, you know, and I thought they were going to be competitive. Some, you know, it was a foregone conclusion. Because you say, even though it's a battleground, you know, the JLP was going to win this or the PNP was going to win this, right? In Clarendon, I thought that from a taller time, the JLP was going to win with Nesta Morgan and Dr. Brennan. Because after listening to Dr. Brennan on an interview on Emily Shields' hotline, I knew that Dr. Brennan, though had good intentions, his plans were not concrete for the constituency. And Nesta Morgan had more concrete plans for the constituency. He knew what he was about, right? So I thought that Nesta Morgan would have won that. However, it was a dog fight between Patricia Duncan Sutherland and Pernell Charles Jr. for Rudyard Spencer's old seat. May I say, yo, this is going to be competitive and whoever wins, it's going to be close. Even Cliff Hughes was saying that he can't predict a winner because it was going to be so close. However, Pernell Charles Jr. blew away Patricia Duncan Sutherland by over 2,000 plus votes, almost 3,000 votes. She lost by. So can you imagine that Horace Daly losing, Richard Azan losing, and the sentiments was that Richard Azan was a good MP, he was a worker. So as well about Dayton Campbell, Dr. Dayton Campbell, that he was a good MP and he was a worker. But I think in this election there was it was an anti-PNP election and a pro-Brogard election. That's the nickname that they give to the Prime Minister. The Most Honorable Andrew Holness, his nickname is Brogard with his Clark's wearing self. Right? The JLP literally blew the PNP out of the waters. It was grim. It was like carnage. You know, on September 3, after the election. And I think that the Prime Minister must be commended. Congratulations to the JLP on their victory. The Prime Minister must be commended because he was smart. All the polls were saying that he was the most popular leader since Michael Manley and Portia Simpson Miller, right? He was very popular. The JLP was enjoying a large lead, double points. Polls were saying leading up to the election, like close to the election, the polls were saying that he had a 14% lead, and you know that will result in a landslide for the JLP. So though the cases were spiking, I mean, the Honorable Andrew Holness, he took his chances and he called the election, right? Even though a few persons were saying that he was reckless in calling the election, majority of the voters were saying, boy, call the election because COVID is not going anywhere. So by the time call the elections right now and get it over and done with, right? And he called the election and it paid off for him. And I think the JLP was smart. They targeted a lot of the PNP safe seats, because one of the things that is emerging out of this election is that do not consider any seat safe. Elected members of parliament must work in their constituencies. Work in their constituencies. Don't sit down. A lot of the MPs, they sit down and they don't work. They don't do much because they say, oh my God, this has been voting PNP every single election. So you know, I don't have to do much there. I don't have to campaign as much there. Right? Even in constituencies where the JLP candidate was weak, they were brought over the line in front of the PNP because of the popularity of Andrew Holness. So a lot of the voters, they voted not for their candidate but for the leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, and we see that bringing them over the finish line first. And we saw this is not something new. We saw this in 2011, though the PNP had a lot of weak candidates and the polls were saying that it's going to be a close election. We saw that where the PNP won by a landslide because Portia Simpson Miller was a popular leader, and that brought some of the candidates over the line. Understand what I'm saying? Yes, so no seat is safe. MPs need to work. We see this evident in Westmoreland. Westmoreland in modern time, as long as I have been alive, I've never seen the Jamaica Labour Party winning a seat in Westmoreland. I'm not a political historian, so I don't know when they've ever won a seat there, but I've never seen it in my little bit of years, right? I've never seen the Jamaica Labour Party winning a seat in Westmoreland. And to see after this election, the Jamaica Labour Party has won all the seats in Westmoreland, may I say, what? This has to go down in Jamaica's history. This has to go down in the history book. Westmoreland gone green. Can you imagine it? And I think one of the things that worked against the PNP is that a large majority of the PNP base is diehards, and a lot of them, they are of the older generation, and I think a lot of them stayed away because of the threat of COVID. If we notice that the election voters, the percentage of voters who came out to vote in this election is the lowest in a long while. It was 37%. Nationally, it was 37%. So a lot of persons stayed away from the polls. I think it was in 2007, it was about 60-something%, right? And 2011 and 2016, it was 50+%. But this time was really low. 37% was really low. And that is one of the things too. People need to go out and vote. Go out and exercise your right. See there? Little ink still left on my finger. I try to make a see in my fingernail here. Little bit of ink still left in there. I got it off most of my finger, but a little bit is still in the nail. Yeah, you need to go out and exercise your democratic right, because when you don't vote, the few that vote speaks for you. So how can you require accountability when you never had a say in voting? I know some persons are going to say, oh, I don't need to vote to have a voice. But when you vote, you actually have a stronger voice. Because if you vote for the winning party, you keep them accountable and say, look here, deliver on the promises that you made, because those were the reasons why I voted for you. If you vote and your candidate or your party lost, you still can't hold the government accountable, because you're going to say, this is the government I voted against and uno win, so I'm going to keep you guys accountable. Get what I'm saying? So COVID really worked against the PNP. And after I listened to Rhoda Moore Crawford That's the young lady that defeated Peter Bunting in central Manchester. When I listened to her, she said that Belfield was the strongest division for the PNP, right, and for Peter Bunting, and she was saying that Belfield was neglected for years. So basically she was saying that Peter Bunting knew that Belfield would vote PNP all the time, so he didn't do a lot of work in there. I don't know if it is true, but that's what she said on the interview with Cliff Hughes. So she targeted those areas and she looked at the PDs where the JLP was losing, and she went there, right, and she did some road work. She was actively trucking water in the community because she realized that persons had water problems. She said when persons came to her and asked her for water, she didn't want to play dirty politics to find out if the person was a Labourite or a PNP. She just gave them water, and because of that, she got tremendous support and it translated into votes. So MPs, I'm saying, members of People's National Party, winning candidates and losing candidates, and there are a lot of losing candidates. If they are going to remain caretakers of a particular constituency, they need to go in there and work. The PNP needs to reassess, regroup, and come again, because a lot of persons were looking towards Peter Bunting to be the next leader of the People's National Party after Dr. Phillips would have retired. However, we see what happened. Peter Bunting has lost central Manchester. I don't think it is basically unlawful if the leader of the party is not an elected member in the lower house. I don't know if that's ever happened before, right? As I said again, I am not a political historian, but I think it is possible. But now with the small minority that the PNP has in the House of Representatives, I don't think the leader of the opposition is going to be outside of the House of Representatives. Not going to be effective there. The leader of the opposition has to be in the House of Representatives, because this is going to be a weak opposition. Whether we like it or not, this is going to be a very weak opposition. So the leader must be in the House of Representatives, right? Let's look at potential leaders in the People's National Party. 3 names are being bandied about. The most popular one is Lisa Anna, and I think Lisa Anna was one of the biggest losers in this election. Probably the second behind Peter Bunting, because Peter Bunting had national profile, he had the confidence, he was seen as the leader in waiting, and to end up lose your seat to a newcomer after you've defeated so many bigwigs in the JLP. You've retired Hugh Shearer, right? You defeated Danville Walker, you defeated Sally Porteous, you defeated St. Albin Bartlett. Those persons had national profile, they had the backing of the money and a large majority of people, and you defeated them. And to say a newcomer, this is like a David and Goliath situation, where Peter Bunting was seen as Goliath and Rhoda Moore Crawford was seen as a little David, and she defeated Peter Bunting. So I mean, he's left with egg on his face. So he's probably the biggest loser, and Lisa Anna being the second, right? Even though this was not reflected in the polls, but she won by 14 votes. I mean, Lisa Anna actually launched her leadership campaign during the national election campaign, because you know it's going to be a battle royale between Lisa Anna, Peter Bunting, and Damian Crawford for the leadership of the party. People who understand politics and notice that Peter Bunting, Lisa Anna, and Damian Crawford were playing their cards right, because they knew that the PNP would lose, right? No doubt about it. Let's just put it out there. They knew that the PNP was going to lose, but nobody expected the PNP to lose so badly, because Dr. Peter Phillips is not a popular leader, and in Jamaican politics you can be bright as ever. Popularity plays a large part of whether you win or not. You have to be popular, you have to be charismatic, you have to be relatable, you have to be a people person. And Dr. Phillips, though bright and did a good job as Minister of Finance, he struggled in those areas, right? Andrew Holness, very popular, very charismatic. He was in the know with the young people. So Peter Phillips was nothing like that. So the members of the People's National Party knew that Peter Phillips would lose, because all the polls were saying that, especially Don Anderson, which is one of the most trusted pollsters. People knew that the PNP was going to lose, but as I said before, nobody expected the PNP to lose that badly, right? So Lisa Anna put it out there, and then she lost by 14. She won by 14 votes, and I'm saying Southeast St. Anne 3,000 plus. Lisa Anna would win by 2,000 plus, close to 3,000. Those were the margins that she would lose by. So the candidate who the JLP removed for breaking quarantine, maybe if that gentleman had stayed, maybe Lisa Anna would have lost Southeast St. Anne. But it is shocking to me, even though there's a national swing towards the JLP. I mean, Lisa Anna had such a large cushion and never saw this coming down to 14 votes. That was kind of shocking. Somebody with national profile, and when I look on her Instagram page, she's always working, always putting up road work and about water for the farmers and so forth. But I guess persons in the constituency saw it differently. That's what I'm seeing. So she launched her leadership campaign. But let me tell you why Lisa Anna probably will not be the leader of the opposition. We have to remember that Lisa Anna is an original Labourite. And one thing about the PNP is that they will never, almost never reward an ex-Labourite in the People's National Party to ascend to such a powerful position. I don't see she tried to become a vice president. It did not work. I don't think it's going to happen for Lisa Anna. For me, Mark Golding is bright. Yes, he is bright, but I don't think he is cut out for the cut and trust of the party. Same thing with Julian Robinson. So 3 persons are going forward. Lisa Anna, Mark Golding, Julian Robinson. Persons are saying Damian Crawford, but Damian Crawford is not a member of the House of Representatives. And as I said before, if the opposition wants to be effective, the leader of the opposition has to be in the House of Representatives. You understand? Yes, they could draft him in the Senate and put him in the upper house, but I think the leader of the opposition must be in the House of Representatives to be effective. That's my thinking. With Mark Golding and Julian Robinson, I don't think they are yet ready for the cut and thrust of politics. They are just too soft-spoken. They remind me of an early Andrew Oldness. You know, he's there, but he not have that oomph, right, to become the leader of the opposition, because we know our Jamaican politics, we just that's it in politics in Jamaica, right? So they probably can be groomed, as some persons are saying. They can be groomed into becoming almost like an Andrew Oldness. But I think that it is possible, but no. Why? I don't think the PNP has time to groom somebody, but their options are limited. That's the thing, only picking from 14. Their options are limited, and we know that some persons really can't become the leader of the opposition. Let's just say it. So persons are saying Philip Paulwell could be the leader of the opposition. Absolutely not. Philip Paulwell has too many blots against his name. So if he ever should become the leader of the opposition, if the PNP is foolish enough to make Philip Paulwell become the leader of the opposition, they would be in opposition for a really, really long time. Too many scandals are associated with his name, right? I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this one. Too many blots are against his name, man. Even though he has never been found guilty of any of them, but him name call up too much. You understand? Allegedly, right? His name has been called up too much. Julian Robinson, now, he has been a poor general secretary, in my opinion, for the People's National Party. I think he should have done so much more. He should have been more aggressive, explaining the People's National Party, putting it forward. I think they put too much on Damian Crawford, because that was such a not thought out properly manifesto, because it kept on changing and it didn't stick, it didn't resonate with people. Because people are saying, yo, I really trick them a trick way, and them a take up idiot, and the JLP was out there clamoring that manifesto, clamoring. I think Dr. Nigel Clark gave Gold in a knockout punch, saying, which manifesto should I respond to? Is it the one at 8 a.m.? Is it the one at 1 p.m.? Is it the one at 3 p.m.? Is it the one at 5 p.m.? And I mean, the PNP's manifesto was all over the place. It was not well thought through. And the PNP has been in opposition for 4+ years, you know, and I'm saying their manifesto should have been so ironclad that there shouldn't be no loopholes. The manifesto seems as if some bright persons in the PNP led by Damian Crawford sat down and said, how can we appeal to voters? And in one day they came up with the manifesto. I mean, some of the ideas were good, but they were not properly thought out. I like the rent to own and I like the 100,000 to teachers to set up their home office. I am a teacher, so trust me, I would have glad for the 100,000. Worse like, oh, my laptop I give me trouble and I really need a new laptop now. Me need a new laptop, so I could have buy one out of the 100,000, you see me? But it didn't work out. The 3,000 off the light and 1,000 off the water, not a bad idea. But the real detrimental part was when they first said that they were giving it to everybody for 5 years. Not practical. With COVID doing so much damage to the economy, that's absolutely not practical at this time. So that wouldn't work either. Understand what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen? That wouldn't work. No, absolutely not. Then they change it to say it's 360 household. Then they say it's going to be for a 1 year base. I mean, it kept on changing. They were not sure about the figures, not certain where they would get the money from. Oh no, absolutely not. So going forward, this is my advice to the two political parties. JLP being the winning party, having 2/3 majority in the lower house, you have to be extremely careful and tread lightly. Members of the JLP, don't become arrogant because you won by a landslide, and that was the downfall of the PNP in 2011. Because they won by a landslide, a lot of the members became very arrogant and nobody can talk to them. They did what they wanted to do regardless of what the people were saying. There was a lot of internal struggle because people wanted to get rid of Portia Simpson Miller to take over because of the landslide. They thought that they would carry it into the next election. No, JLP govern and govern wisely. Know that Andrew Oldness has a wider number of persons to choose from for his cabinet. I'm hoping that he will select a lot more young people, especially for certain ministries. Education, we need somebody young. We don't want no dinosaur. We need somebody young who is relatable and understands the ins and outs of a ministry like that. My candidates are like Terry Long or Floyd Green. Any one of those. No, we don't want no more political dinosaurs in key ministries. Absolutely not. I think Dr. Christopher Tufton should remain at health, even though he looks very tired and frustrated at some point. But I don't think it would be a wise decision to switch him now. Maybe he would want a break to go somewhere else that is less active. I don't know, but I think he should remain. Right? Minister of National Security, that needs changing because we see that crime is still a major problem in Jamaica. We need people with fresh ideas, so we need a change there. Youth falls under education. Culture can remain, but those are my changes that I would like to see so far. Good? So, ladies and gentlemen, let us keep the government accountable. People's National Party, you need to regroup, rebrand. Try and put the party forward in a way that it can be marketed to young people. Stop depending on your base, which are mostly made up of diehards. People are turned off from the political parties. People are turned off by it. People are turned off by the People's National Party. The PNP needs to get rid of this thing of my time now, and you have to serve long and hard in order to ascend to the leadership. We move past them time, the long time in Jamaica. We move past that long time. We are now in the time of young, bright, relatable, and understanding with a lot of charisma. Those are the kinds of leadership that people, especially young people, want to see emerging out of political parties. Get rid of a lot of the dinosaurs, and the PNP needs to thank the voters because the voters have gotten rid of a lot of the lazy political dinosaurs that has been causing the party to struggle over the years. The PNP has a grand opportunity now to restructure and remarket itself and stop cussing about PR. PNP actually use some PR and marketing, because I think that the PNP could have marketed Dr. Phillips in a different way instead of putting the narrative out there or allowing the narrative to run that he's old and he's sleepy and he don't know what he's doing, because we saw his performance in the debate, right? So all the best to the Jamaica Labour Party and all the best to whatever is left of the People's National Party. Ladies and gentlemen, these are my views. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching.